Hey, am I on? Am I on? Hey, everybody. Oh, it's so nice to get out here. Let's leave a little Plazic. Zazoo Plazz. Here from my Sunday report, November 27th, 2022. It's the end of Thanksgiving weekend. I'm out here. I was almost thinking that I wouldn't get to do my report today. I'm at a different light. I haven't been at this light post before. The wood's over there, the school's over there. I'm looking right into my usual path in the woods. It's way down there across the parking lot. So I was thinking, oh, it's after 7 o'clock. My husband's already making the frozen fish to cleaning up the freezer, getting ready to drive my younger son back to Yukon. He's packing up his car, taking big handfuls of clothes and throwing them in the car. It's like pouring rain out. He's working in the garage, trying to do all this stuff. So he's a real creative kid. It's very telling what your children once they get to be 18, what they ask Santa for Christmas. Very telling about them as individuals. Like my older son, he went back to his apartment earlier today after emailing his dad and me his list, carefully, curated list a couple days ago. Of course, it's all on his Amazon wish list, and he wants an Apple Watch. And then he said, oh, I've decided I don't want the big one. I want the small face, and everything is all like, and he wanted this, I don't know. He asked me for this mug, and I had to ask him for an interpretation because I didn't know what it meant. Something mythical something or other. It's some show that he watches. It's something about 10 years. I don't know. It's like this black mug with orange writing on it. Very, I'm sure I could have looked it up, but you get to the point where, after years, I would play Santa, and I would gear up and decorate the whole house and to be cooking and cleaning and blah 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 blah. Just playing Santa and wearing myself out. And then I get to the point where it's like, okay, and then I just email Santa what you want. And I finally gotten to this point where I know that the less effort I expend toward the holidays, the happier it's going to be. You get to this point, if you're like me, if you're the kind of person where everyone goes, oh, Mom will do it, or you just do it because nobody else is going to do it, right? So you just do it. And then you get to the point where you're freaking exhausted, and you're like, what about if I didn't do it? And then you find out that by not doing it, you feel pretty good, and everything is happening, and it's going along fine. And then you're like, what if I did that all the time? And you begin to like it. So the younger one, and I'm like, okay, so his dad now is the one running around, and he's always been the one doing it. He's running around, and that's good for him. He goes to the store, he runs here, he goes there, to church scout, I gotta do this for him. And I'm like, okay. and it is when you get to the point where you know yourself and you have confidence that acting that way, and now that I think about it, that's always worked for me, When I was when the kids were small, they'd have, sign-ups for the little preschool classes. And all the other moms would be like, oh, I gotta get there at 6 a.m. and wait, you gotta get my little Julia, my little Johnny signed up before everybody else, or else they won't get into college. I roll down there, 9:45 before the line closed. Boop! I'd put them in whatever was left, and it worked out fine. Because what they were gonna get, they'd get. They did Mommy and Me. They did all the classes. I wasn't the first one in frickin' line, but they got them. They got in. They got through. They went to college. I got my Chargers shirt on today. I'm in a Chargers kind of mood. Charging. So, I was thinking about that today. I was thinking about, now that we're in Sagittarius season, the horse, the Chargers, and New Haven in particular, what it means. New Haven, it's, in Connecticut. It's where Yale is, and in this fine college. My son graduated from here, my oldest son. So that's why I got the shirt. I said to my younger son, you can get me a Yukon shirt, because I don't have one. I used to have one when I went there for my MBA. I said, you get me a mug or a Yukon shirt. I said the other one, get me like a mug warmer so when I'm writing in my office, I can keep my coffee hot, because I hate cold coffee, and or tea. And what always happens is that I sit down to do my writing or whatever, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and by the time I get to my coffee or tea, it's cold. And then I gotta go downstairs and heat it up again. Or in the, if I'm in my downstairs office and I go, I have to heat it up, and then it gets cold again. I said, get me something that'll keep my drinks hot. Because I have to have hot, I'm a hot thirst type. I need hot beverages to wrap my hands around, because my hands are cold sometimes. So where is all this leading today? Oh yeah, so the younger one, the older one wanted, what was it, an Apple Watch, and he wanted a mug and I don't know, weird stuff, some other stuff on Amazon. And the younger one wants an amp, not an app, an amp for his guitar. It's always the music, he wants an amp. So, we always end up going to the guitar store, buying him some kind of instrument, some kind of musical thing, because he's the creative kid, I can never go wrong getting him like sketchbooks, pencils, drawing stuff, anything that, a gift card to like a, craft store, music store, anything like that. He loves that, or outdoor kind of store where he can go and get like boots or outdoor wear, because he's an environmental kid. So you got the indoor kid with all his apps and his, and he's Mr. Foodie, Mr. Virgo. He took over the kitchen. He came home. Thank goodness that I made my pumpkin pies and my butternut squash soup on Tuesday night before Thanksgiving. Because on Wednesday night, he came home, took over the entire kitchen, was making mac and cheese and all this stuff. And then he takes over the house. It was impossible for me to do any creative stuff while he was home. The other kid, he gets out. He goes out of the house. I did go for a little walk. I had dinner with my dad, which was really nice, and caught up on, he He set the table for us. He made everything nice. He heated up. He went to Cracker Barrel and got his dinners and he heated them up. He made a chocolate cream pie. I brought over a pumpkin pie. So I had a little bit of that. He was so proud that he whipped up his little whipped cream. He got some like soy milk thing and he's trying to be healthy. He whipped it up with some sugar. And he's like, I got wine. I said, yes, please. If there's a time when you need a glass of wine, it's Thanksgiving. So, going back to the old hometown and driving around and, looking at all the houses of the people that you used to know that aren't there anymore. And, like seeing my Uncle Mo's house and somebody else bought it and it just looks, it's sad. It's sad, isn't it? Like, I'm going through this phase, apparently. Pluto's whipping through my fourth house. It's right at the end, going through my fourth house, swept across the south node. Now, south node is the stuff from your past life and your early life. You're moving away from that. So I'm moving toward my north node, which is Gemini, which is, all kinds of writing, speaking, going around and listening to different, talking to different people. But for the time being, I have to slog through all this. So, talking to my dad and, of course, he put out all like my mother's, decorations. There's like this little doll. It's like little, I don't know, fall scarecrow doll that she used to like. And he's like, oh, I found this. And he puts it like on the kitchen hutch where I'm facing it and it's behind him. So I'm looking at this doll and it's like smiling at me, And it looks like my mother. It's got this, hat and it's smiling and it's got, like a little dress and a little fall, scarecrow outfit, and it's so I can't help it. It's her energy is in it, and it's like she's there and she's so then I go in the dining room, right, and her pictures, and I could swear she's looking at me and she's smiling at me and she's wearing pink and her pink lipstick and she's very happy that I'm there, that I'm sharing my dad and, making him happy. And I was always that kind of kid. I used to think I'd see a picture of somebody and they'd looking in my soul. When I was growing up, of course, we had, living in New England, we had, my parents were really into the colonial motif, it was the 70s too, so keep in mind everything was orange and gold and green and brown. And then we had all these colonial people on the walls, like men and women and outlined in like black silhouette, kind of like old, like people, like not Quakers, but old colonial types, and guys in high collars and stern looking people going like this and looking at you. And there was this guy, I don't know who he was, but there was a picture of him over the orange chair in our living room. And it was one of those kind of things. Or his eyes used to move when I went by. He was always looking at me from the wall. It was like on Scooby-Doo, right? When Scooby-Doo and Shaggy would go in a place and the eyes would follow them and Shaggy would go, zoinks! Shaggy, do you see that? Anyway, so, where was I? Oh, yeah, Thanksgiving. So, I guess what I'm thinking about is, the difference between my kids and, oh, my dad. Yeah, I was talking about my parents' house. So, my dad is a creator type. He plays in multiple fiddle groups. He plays the clarinet in a band, and he goes around with all these older guys in these French Canadian fiddle groups, and they play like the quadrille and those old French Canadian songs that my grandparents used to listen to. My mom's dad, my Pepe, used to dance to the quadrille, or maybe it was my grandmother's, I don't know, my great grandmother, but they used to dance. The quadrille is it's like a Quebec, a dance they did in Quebec, in Canada, where my people come from. Kind of like a square dance, only like they did it. It's like a square, quadrille. It's a quad, basically, and they were very spirited dances. They're happy dances. Oh, here comes the rain again. So, oh man. Here comes the rain again. Falling on my head like a memory. Okay, Annie Lennox. Oh, I'm channeling Annie Lennox today. So, let's see. How can we do this and still have light? All right. Can you still see me now? Okay. So anyway, do I need this? I can do without it. So I started thinking about creation. Yeah. I guess it's going to come around to something today. So when my boys are home, it seems like, you've got all these energies swirling around in one house. And it's very hard for me to, I really have to put up my boundaries. And I woke up this morning with this song, Brick House. In my mind, the Commodore's Brick House. I don't know what song I'm going to pick today. But anyway, I don't think that's the one. But, and my house has brick in the front of it. And I started thinking, the brick, how you put one brick on top of the other, and you do one day at a time. You put one brick down, one brick down, one brick down, and before you know it, you have a chimney, you have a pathway, you have a front of a house, and it's strong, right? Bricks, but you have to put them the right way. If you put them all different ways, it's not gonna do much. So you have to know how, and I was thinking that brick house, night to night day, just let them know. That song, 1977. Today's a 7 kind of day. Today is a 3 day for me. So it is a creative day. And I started thinking, okay, well, that's not the song for today, Brick House. But I was thinking, the concept of, creating, building a wall, and leaning your ladder against the wall and, climbing up. And the concept of the bricks, when my kids were little, and still, they like those Lego bricks. But what they would do is they'd build things and then they'd tear them down again. So, and then I said, okay. I looked at the scriptures. I said, oh, jeez. Climbing God's mountain. And it's the first Sunday in Advent, and Advent is beginning things, and there's the idea of being prepared, and so that kind of came in. So I said, so the message in all the scriptures I read today, and you can go look them up. There was something about climbing God's mountain and converting the weapons of war into the weapons of, like the plowshare, and you're turning the spear into the, I don't know, the rake or something, and or, you take it a step further. Um, in other words, we want to be prepared in terms of building, climbing God's mountain, going up higher, becoming our better selves. And I was thinking, it's really a time to be focused. Are we fighting? Are we, is our life one of war, or is it one of creation? And that made me think of Rent, my favorite um, Broadway play. My husband and I saw it in the late 90s, I think, at the Schubert Theater in New Haven, Connecticut. And it was the original Broadway cast. And I loved it. I just loved it. I had the program and the poster, and I put it up when I worked at the place. I worked for a software firm that used to, ironically, it was a platform for all the ticket brokers to sell tickets to events and things. And that's been in the news a lot lately. So what I did, though, was, because I have a background in international business and I speak Spanish, I was working on a Spanish website that was selling tickets in the secondary market. In other words, recently they had a little to do in the primary market. Well, this was like, reselling tickets. Like, if you have tickets to a concert and you can't go, then you can sell them to somebody else, So anyway, so everything was, we dealt with a lot of entertainment, a lot of Broadway shows, concerts, whatever. So I had this Rent poster up on my wall, and it wasn't. Some people didn't like it, and I remember that. I thought I was being cool, but some of the people who were younger than me were kind of like, I don't know. I could sense that they didn't like it, but I kept it up there because I liked it. And then later, they made us take down all of they took us out of the office where we had walls, where we could put, like, the guy who worked next to me, we were friends. He had all his, sports, he had, pennants from different sports teams, because we sold sports tickets. So they put us all in this big fishbowl office with standing desk, and we didn't have room to put anything up on the wall, so it was just, like they put you there and you were staring at somebody, and then you had somebody looking at, it was awful. But, we were creative people, and we were building websites, we were doing creative things, until they didn't let you be creative anymore, and they said, no, you got to do it this way. And then if you didn't do it that way, they would just tell you, okay, you've got to, just copy whatever's been done before. And I would say, I want to do it. How about we do it this way? And they'd say, no, take that down, put that there, come and go. Here, you wait. So, well, needless to say, it lasts long there. So I guess what I'm trying to say, but the whole thing about Rent is, there's a song, Jonathan Larson, genius, who created Rent. It was so inspiring to me. My notebook's getting all wet. That song, La Vie Bohème, I think I'm going to put a link to that. That was so inspiring, because in that song, they're talking about, somebody says, the opposite of war isn't peace, it's creation. Whatever you think about, whatever the characters in that, Everybody's got their, what, their own quirky self, right? That they need to express. And that's what that play really brought home. Is, when you stop waging war against each other and appreciate people for what they bring to the world. Their unique perspective, their unique place in your life. Your life becomes colorful. Otherwise, it's just gray and dull and awful. So if you're putting down your weapons, you have to replace it with something. Whether it's, music, art, doing videos out in the rain, writing funny stories, telling jokes, dance, music, playing the fiddle. Yeah. And each person has their own role to play in the musical that is God's plan. And is anyone in the mainstream? I love that. The mainstream. What is that? What is the mainstream? Are you in the mainstream? If you're watching this, you're probably not in the mainstream. But anyway, I think my view of God is that He wants us to, it's like that in the other song I was thinking today is Forever Young by Rod Stewart. It's a heartfelt song. You can look at it as something to play with your pictures of your slideshow of your kids growing up. But there's a line in that song that says, "Build a stairway to heaven with a prince or a vagabond." And I always like that line. And the vagabond, of course, is like the Bohemian, la bohème, the person who's like a gypsy who goes around and goes to Santa Fe and opens a restaurant, goes somewhere. I fancy myself a bit of a vagabond, even though lately I've been staying in one place. And then there's the prince, the prince, the person who's, has their own kingdom and is, I guess a prince would be somebody who's fortunate, who's, his path is laid out for them, don't move around much, they have their place in the world, and that's what some people are here to do. And then some people are here to be very attached to the world and learn all about the ways of the world. And then there are other people who feel like they've been there, done that. You know anybody like that? And, everything's boring unless you sit down at the keyboard or you sit down to write. And then all of a sudden life becomes a wonderful experience. Even if you're standing out in the rain or in the cold with a candle, you don't mind, because you get to walk by all those, sit there and watch all those people going off to work in their jobs that they hate. Even if you're cold. See, the great secret of the world, ever since, if you look at Jesus, he was born in a stable with some animals. And he's the, king of the universe. He's, brought here to show us. He set an example. He wasn't, born in the fanciest hotel. He was born in a stable. And, what kind of stability do you want in your life? If you want the stability of knowing that, each one of us is a divine spark, that we're enough, and see what we can do with that. God can't wait to see what we're going to create. When we stop trying to tear each other down and express ourselves and burn and shine brightly. what a wonderful world it can be. So now that I'm thoroughly soaked, even though I have my rain pants on today, I'm swishing, baby. And swish, swish. Okay, so I think well, that's not all I have to say, but I guess that's all I should say, because who's going to watch more than 30 minutes of me yapping? So until next week, go. Stay dry. Shine brightly. I'll see you next week. Zazoo out. Take care.